Hello, and thank you so much for joining me here today as we journey forward into the life of Junebug. And again, I'd like to reiterate my purpose around Junebug is to, I really hope to see her open the door for conversations for the youth in our lives, right? We must understand that, the stats say 1 in 5 children are experiencing sexual trauma. And I'd probably say 1 in 3, because I think that so many of us don't even come to recognize, right, what our experiences were until we're grown and our children are grown. So if you haven't yet, grab up your copy of Junebug, right? You can find her at CherieDoyen.com on the books page. And I urge you to follow along as we continue our journey with Junebug. Now, when I started my period, a whole new set of obstacles seemed to be laid out before me. On that day, I'm lying in bed. Sure, I'm dying. The pain in my stomach is unbearable. It feels like something struggling to be set free inside of me. Ripping and tearing, it hurts so much. I can hear them in the other room. Dad's trying to convince Mom to come talk to me. She won't. The fight escalates. She needs to know what's happening to her. She thinks she's sick. This is a time when girls need their mom. She needs to hear it from you. By this time, I'm absolutely sure I'm dying. I have some rare form of cancer or something. It shouldn't just hurt like this for no reason. And I mean, if I'm understanding what's happening, I lean over and I whisper in Chi-Chi's ear. Doesn't it sound like he's on my side? That's super weird. There must be something really bad going on. Chi-Chi nods in agreement. Dad finally comes in. I guess he decides he's not going to convince her. And in a rare moment of compassion, he pulls up a chair. And taking my hand, he explains to me that I'm starting my period. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's normal. Now you're going to have some bleeding, and the things you'll need are in the bathroom closet when it's time. Have they talked about it at school? Yes, but they never talked about it hurting like this. We had a class in the 6th grade, but no one said anything about this part. He hands me a couple aspirin and a glass of water. Now get some rest, he says, and he leaves the room. The next day, he gives me a pair of purple vases with little tiny white flowers on the front as a gift. He has his moments. Now it seems with this new development, I have a new scent about me, like a dog in heat. The predators begin to appear at every turn. The day has come for us to leave our tiny little Catholic school and move on. High school. It will be a big change moving from our private group of 25 to the public high. New people, new thoughts. After 9 years together, we're pretty sick of each other. We're all excited, but a little afraid of the newness too. Leaving the comfort of our tiny little school where everyone knows everyone. It's the day we've been waiting for all year. Graduation day. We're all dressed in our special graduation clothes, the girls in our fancy dresses, and we're all having a little trouble walking in our brand new high-heeled shoes. And the boys with their hair combed just right, in suits and ties, they're pulling and tugging at their collars, complaining. We've all been gathered in our classroom, and everyone's talking at once. Sister Mary Alice takes her spot at the front of the room and quiets us. She begins her speech about how much we've added to the little school and how much we're all going to be missed. I'm not so sure that's right. We were a pretty rowdy bunch. She follows her talk with a prayer, and after a moment of silence, we're lined up in our customary manner, smallest to tallest. I'm not complaining, I'm always in the front. We walk in a line and file into the pews, and Mass begins. Now, during the service, my mind wanders to the rest of the day. We're all gathering at Grandma's after the service, and I'm suddenly startled from my daydreams by a voice ringing out in the church as if it were coming from the heavens. I crane my neck to see where this mesmerizing sound is coming from. He's up in the choir loft, but I can't see his face. My whole body tingles with each note. All I can think of is that voice, big and velvety. I'm swept away, riding the waves as the notes flow out like ribbons of melted chocolate. I spend the entire service waiting for that next song. Then right as Father is holding up the host, I hear a familiar voice. Pay attention, he's the one. I look around and I see that no one seems to have heard him but me. The teacher has never spoken to me in this place when others are around. Now, as this mystery man's music fills the church for the final time, I poke my friend Sally and I whisper, I'm going to marry him someday. She snickers at me and whispers back, yeah, right. I say nothing, no need to argue. I know. I immediately set out to find out what I can about this man without a face. It isn't hard. He's one of the Carney boys, Bob Carney. The Carneys are a large, prominent Catholic family in town, lots of kids. He has 8 brothers and 2 sisters. He's the youngest of the boys. They're all well-educated, attorneys, business owners. He has nieces and nephews my age. Bob doesn't live here anymore. He's just home for a visit. He moved away to be an actor in New York. He'll be back. Now, I'm able to keep Ginger on one condition. I have to show her in competition. Dad wants to join the saddle club, and you have to show to be in the saddle club. Otherwise, what's the point? The club consists pretty much of all the people my parents hang out with, along with a few relatives, of course. He found a great old roping cowboy to train Ginger and me together. He teaches me not only just to ride, but to feel and anticipate the animal's next move. He has Ginger stopping on a dime. I learned to guide her with my knees, which was great for bareback. I can just run out and jump on. I really don't enjoy showing one little bit, and Dad's always standing at the end of the ring, giving us orders as we pass by him. And Ginger sidesteps every time, and we get thrown out of the ring. She walks wide circles around him. He's not her favorite person for sure. Then he meets us at the gate, mad at us for screwing up the ride. What the hell was that, he says. If you would just go stand somewhere else, we'd win the whole damn thing, I'd say. Not out loud, of course. Not that I really care. It's the silliest thing under the sun, riding around in circles when we could be out amongst the trees with the wind in our hair. But it's the price I pay for the days I get to roam free. Now, my parents spend every spare moment with 2 other couples and Uncle Vernon and Aunt Carol. The 8 of them do everything together, right down to sharing their partners. And they think I don't know, but they think I don't know lots of things. Now, Randy Simmons, one of the 4 men, has started hanging around. It seems everywhere I turn, there's Randy. He'll just happen to be walking past my horse trailer, or he'll be right there at the gate when I'm ejected. Now, it does feel good to hear him acknowledge that Dad messed up our turn in the ring. You know, he hops on the back to catch a ride over to the cook shack, or he tells me how great I look out there. Lots of horse talk, you know, to reel me in. Now, Randy's handsome with his sandy red hair and his twinkly eyes that seem to change color with his mood. Kind of Robert Redfordish. He has a contagious, sparkling smile, coupled with all the right words. He's quite charming. And I've really never had anyone pay that much attention to me. I enjoy being caught up as I walk by. Sometimes he even gives me a little peck on the cheek. Then comes the real kiss behind the horse trailer, along with words, of course. My head's spinning. He's kissing me like the grown-ups kiss. I'm sure it's some kind of mistake. I have no idea what to do with the feelings that are roaming through my body. There's a weird excitement mixed with dread. He wanders away, smiling, like has some big secret. I have nowhere to put this new experience, so I decide it's best to go on with life and push the thoughts away. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. It was just a mistake. Forget it. There's always a lot to do on horse show day. I'm up bright and early with the horses fed and watered. I wander down to the rabbit cages. I have a little time to kill while Ginger's having her breakfast. My favorite of all the little furry creatures is Gents. He's solid black with just a few white hairs on his crown and, as if he were starting to gray. I lift him from my cage and I pull him in close. I give him a good hug and we find a nice spot of clover. I chatter on and while he enjoys his very special breakfast. And I tell him about all the things I have to do this morning to get ready for the show. He looks up at me occasionally just to let me know he's listening. And after breakfast, he climbs back into my lap for another snuggle. Hugging him tight, I tell him it's time for Ginger to get her bath, and I put him back with the others. I always hate that moment. No one should have to live in a cage, but they do. Back in the barn, I gather up the supplies, a bucket, a couple of brushes, and a hose, and I haul it all up to the corral. Ginger still has her head in the hay, so it's pretty easy to sneak up on her. She hates the bath. She doesn't like water very much, and she doesn't like getting her feet wet at all. Her tendency to walk a mile around a puddle or jump it is a problem sometimes in the ring. She does enjoy the attention, though, so I start talking. You know you want to be pretty in front of all those people, I croon. The chatter keeps her at ease while I get situated. I begin the process of brushing her from head to toe. Ginger loves being brushed. She snuggles me with her nose every time I take a break. It makes me laugh, but she gets me put back to work. I grab up the hose and I tell her, okay, it's time for the water now. It's all right. It's going to feel good. She looks at me, then the hose, and shakes her head with a snort. She's completely unconvinced. I turn the sprayer on lightly, the rain at first. Ginger whinnies and tosses her head around, but after a second or two, she decides it's not so bad after all. It feels pretty good, in fact. Sudsed up and rinsed off. It's a hot summer day, so she'll enjoy basking in the sun while she dries. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? You know you feel better. Now I need to go down and do some work on the saddle. It's looking a little rough, I think. I'll be back in a few. So I'm off to the barn and I give the saddle a once-over. It's going to take some elbow grease. I guess we've played her pretty hard since the last show. And I grab up the saddle soap and I get to work. I scrub and I buff until it looks as good as new. Satisfied, I haul all the tack up to the trailer. Ginger's getting bored and she lets out a snort with a toss of her head. I'm coming, I tell her. You're not done. We still have some primping to do. We have to get those nails polished and that tail, it's a mess. We have to get that mane in shape too. Looks like you got caught up in the bush or something. I laugh out loud at the irony of that. All finished, I stand back and I admire our work. Wow, you look beautiful. Her coat glistens in the bright sunlight. Okay, girl. Now it's my turn to get prettied up. And with that, I hurry inside. It's getting late. I make my way back to my room and I throw open the door to my closet and I pull out my suit and I hold it up to take a look. I like it. It's silly that you have to wear a goofy suit in the first place, but since you do, it might as well be a cool one. Mom made mine. She can sew almost as good as Grandma when she wants. I got to pick the color. It's purple with pearl white snaps down the front. I also got to pick out my hat. It's pink candy cotton with a purple sash. I tie a pink scarf around my neck. After slipping on my boots and pulling my hair back with a purple ribbon, I step back to take a look in the mirror. For a silly suit, not bad. Time to get going. With a little coaxing, I talk Ginger into the trailer. Hey, girl, we clean up pretty good. Look at us. They're all going to want to give us ribbons and prizes. We look amazing. She knows exactly where we're going. And it's not her favorite place. She shakes her head, throwing her mane around, but decides that she'll give me this one. I owe her big time. You know, we get this over with, and tomorrow's ours. Ginger settles in, and we both notice the cooler in the back of the truck. Dad and I ride together the few miles to the showgrounds in silence. The others will be along shortly. And as we pull in, Randy directs us into a spot between him and my Uncle Vernon. Randy catches me up from behind as I'm getting Ginger settled in, and he gently takes my arm and guides me into the trailer. We're tucked away where no one can see us. He's laughing softly. I'm taken completely off guard. I pushed the last time far from my realm of thought. I'm not sure I want to think or do. I'm frozen, and he kisses me again. This time, his hands wander up my back. I begin to feel all tingly but gaggy at the same time. Kissing is kind of gross with all the slobber and the tongue thing. Then his hands find their way to my tiny breasts. The guilt wells up in my chest like a fire, threatened to burn me up. What about his wife, his girls? I squirm and wiggle my way free, and I rush away to bury myself in the safety of the crowd. I can hear him laughing as I try to become invisible. I can't make sense of it. My mind and body are saying two completely different things. I find a group of girls that I know, and I put the confusing stuff out of my mind. I'm good at keeping secrets. Randy seems to know that somehow. It's about time for our turn in the circle, and Ginger and I have a good long talk. Now, you know Dad's going to have an effect. Now, you know Dad's not going to have an effect on us tonight. We're not afraid of him at all. He can't hurt us. There's a fence between us, right? Now, it's about time for our turn in the circle. Ginger and I have a good long talk. Dad's not going to have any effect on us tonight. We're not afraid of him at all. He can't hurt us. There's a fence between us, right? He's on the outside. So we're just going to pretend like he's not there. We're going to go right past him without noticing him at all. All right, girl? Is it a deal? Let's show him. There he is at his post with his customary cigarette hanging from his mouth and a beer in his hand. I feel Ginger tense at the sight of him. We make it around that time, and she settles back down as we get further away. The next round's good, too. It looks like it's going to be an okay night. But then there he goes, barking commands, and Ginger sidesteps, startled. And out of the ring we go. Dad's curses are bouncing around. Circle's done. I take a big, deep breath. At least I'll make it out of here before he gets around to the gate. Randy's waiting, and he climbs on behind me. He takes the reins and guides us away from the crowd. It's getting dark by this time. He's talking and laughing. The next thing I know, we've left the open clearing and are entering the woods. My stomach lurches in a signal of danger. Sliding down easily, he lifts me from my seat. More soft, sweet talk, and the kisses start again, and his hands begin to roam. This time, he unbuttons my jacket with one hand and slips his other hand down my pants. Oh, see there? You like it. Look how wet you are. And he whispers this in my ear. All of these new feelings. My head is swooning and screaming at the same time. He guides my hand to that bulging place between his legs. Unzipping his jeans, he set himself free in all of his glory. He guides my hand in a rhythm that gives him pleasure. And I become aware that none of this feels foreign. Somehow, I know just what to do to bring him to that point of those soft noises. I'm just not sure how I know. He then places his hand on my head and he gently pushes me to my knees and prompts me to take his manly parts into my mouth. And again, somehow I know what he wants. When satisfied, he steps back, zips his pants, and pulls me to my feet. I concentrate with all my might, fighting the need to gag. I allow him to help me back on my horse with explanations of it being our little secret. We leave from different areas in the woods so it can stay that way. We don't want to draw any unwanted attention. Not that anyone would care anyway. How did I know these things? How did I know what to do? Feels like I've maybe done those things before. How is that possible? I've never even had a boyfriend. I've never kissed anyone outside of Randy. Can't remember. The encounters become more frequent when I'm forced into babysitting for Randy's two little girls. They're both school age. I don't usually pay much attention to kids, and it took some work to get me to agree. It's money, my parents say as they shove me out the door. Not that I really have a choice, but I finally agree. It's become normal for him to take me back to their bedroom before they leave for their date. Their girls often tell me how much their daddy likes me. I wonder if his wife just doesn't care. She seems, from where I stand, to find the situation a little funny. Or is it that it's just easier? He talks about you all the time, the girls often say. I wonder if he slips into their room at night. Car rides home often turn into parking on a gravel road. With time, he's become even more brazen. He seems to love the excitement around getting caught. He's been picking me up at my house. And my parents override my protests and force me to go with him. They usually have some sort of excuse about, he needing my help with something or another. My parents push me out the door saying, now go on, don't be silly. Sometimes I find him waiting for me after school. There he is lurking somewhere on the route to Grandma's. After the shows, he climbs onto my horse with me. Last week, he guided Ginger right up to where my parents were standing, with his hand down my pants, fingers inside. He knows, I guess, that Dad's going to be too drunk to notice, and Mom pretends not to. So I want to thank you so much for being here with me today, and whatever sparked for you, whatever thoughts are roaming through your head, I would love to hear them. Like Junebug's intent, again, is to start conversation around things that aren't normally talked about. And our kids need us to talk about them. They need to be aware of what is available, right? They need to be aware. So pick up your copy of Junebug at CherieDoyen.com on the books page. And we'll see you back here as we resume our read through of Junebug.